Hey everyone, welcome back. Um, Last video was a little bit short. I was kind of in a rush making it. I did, I think I got about 95% of my points out and what I was trying to say. But I'd like to add on to it a little bit because we touched on some things in the video that we could have really went more on a tangent with, but I didn't get the chance to. So um, the whole spiral thing, right? Like we discussed in terms of the Fibonacci spiral. I alluded to the fact that there could also be a Christic spiral, right? That may be more harmonious, more in tune with our spirit, with our essence. But I'm not sure that it would be more resonant with us, let's say, right? Because I've followed a lot of Ashana Diane's work, and first of all, her appearance is sort of a red flag. She's got this whitish blonde hair, giving her this allure of an angel, right? Of someone that's pure, right? That's why these beings will show up as pure white beings of light. But we all know, or many of us on this channel have reasoned or even experienced the idea that just because it's pure white light doesn't mean it's good or benevolent, right? Just like if you go to water and you see it's clear, doesn't mean it's not full of bacteria, or doesn't mean it's not dirty, doesn't mean it's not dangerous for you. So this is the same idea of light. So in terms of her work, she claims that we are in a sort of phantom matrix, and our energy here, the codes here, are being siphoned to another matrix through a black hole. And she explains a lot of the things happening here because of that. It's parasitic in nature. I think she's got the right idea. She also says she's communicating with these sort of guides, these sort of very high level angelic beings, but it's not channeling. She kind of just receives it telepathically or something in that regard. Again, in my opinion, that's still a red flag. There's all sorts of beings, right? Not to discount that any sort of communication is wrong or some sort of manipulation, but there's all sort of beings, and depending on what level or what dimension they're on, they can communicate in various ways and be more or less pure than other forms, right? For example, if something is discreetly shouting in your ear, right, let's say mediums can hear these voices very clearly, that means they're really actually quite close in terms of dimensions. Maybe just above in the fourth astral dimension, maybe the lower specifically. Whereas you may get like faint ringing in your ears, that could be from higher dimensions. And she claims that there are 13 dimensions, and that the Christic codes come from this 12th dimension likely, whereas the 11th dimension and down have been corrupted. They're called Metatronic. So again, that's probably false, because of the whole dimensions idea. In terms of where there are dimensions, there are dimensions, there are bodies, there's time. Space is intertwined with time, and the higher you go up in space, the less time there is. So it's inversely related. Time equals 1 over frequency, like some potential time travelers have given us that equation, and that makes sense in my head. And also it makes sense in the black hole theory that the closer you get to the event horizon of the black hole, the quicker you experience time, rather, right? So let's say when someone, even scientists have said this, that the closer you get to a actual black hole, time speeds up for you, in a sense, or rather slows down for you, but you're going through it very quickly, right? So the same thing if you're in the other dimension, you're going through it normally, but everything is going through the others much quicker, right? So if you spend one day, like we've seen in the movie Interstellar, 20 years can go by on Earth because you're going through time much quicker, essentially, right? So the farther you go up the black hole system, the faster it oscillates. It's a higher vibratory frequency. But again, vibration is still at play. Time is still at play. In eternity, there is no time, right? It's a construct designed to be in eternity. Infinity is within eternity, and infinity is, again, that loop, right? That chain link. It's a cycle. So in terms of the time cycles, someone asked me to do maybe more of a clarification on it. The best thing I can tell you is that it's like they're like chain links. Now, I'm not a physicist, I'm not a quantum physicist, any of that. I don't have PhDs or whatever, but this is how I imagine it. They're like chain links, and you know, it's a spiral of chain links, essentially, like our DNA. Everything is a fractal, and these links, first of all, the adjacent time links will repeat, right? But then the bigger ones will also repeat, because two of them will make a bigger one. So it's like a circle within a circle within a circle, just like a spiral, right? So it goes round and round and round, and the one, you know, right above it, 100 degrees adjacent to it, or rather perpendicular to it, opposite of it, is going to be the other way, right? So the spiral is coming just like a staircase, and now you're going this way instead of that way, but you're still going to go around the same circuit, the same point, right? Because it's a funnel. So those smaller time periods can repeat, and it's likely in terms of the Fibonacci numbers. So the one depends on, I guess, what spiral you're in. But then the larger ones will also repeat. So, you know, interesting with what Archaics is saying in terms of the 100 years, but also in terms of reincarnation, how you know, members of the elite have very similar features. Maybe there are connections to people from 100 years ago that looked very similar to how they do now in terms of actors and celebrities, and have they just been reincarnating into these people using the Rh negative bloodline, right, to maintain control, maintain power. And you know, they sell us this idea of karma, saying, oh, you got to do your work, you got to do your deeds, but meanwhile we'll just, you know, have fun and control and rule over you the whole time. So, you know, past the 11th dimension potentially is that Fibonacci spiral, and then the Christic spiral takes over. But in my opinion, that's still not the way, right? The whole truth. She may have aspects of the truth, Ashana Dan, but she seems to be very controlled. And you know, a lot of it is, oh, well, the black hole is collapsing, and it's a rescue operation designed to save you. And that, again, sounds very much like, oh, the ETs are coming and they're gonna save you, so hop on their ships and, you know, let them take you to the next reality, the 5th dimension, where they give you the holographic body, the AI body, and now they have even more control over your soul, your spirit essence, because they cannot control your spirit essence unless you give your consent, right? That's the only thing that seems to work here. Consent, contracts, coercion, manipulation into those contracts to then get you to fulfill those contracts, right? People claim, oh, we have ultimate free will in the astral. Well, until, you know, your guides or the elders come knocking at your door telling you have to reincarnate, because, you know, you have to listen to us, we know what's best for you. Well, why? And we need more information. We need to understand why that's best for us. Let me decide what's best for us, because I'm a capable soul, I'm a capable spiritual being. I understand what I want. I'm coming here more than likely not for a life lesson, soul lesson, but for an experience. I wanted to experience that. That makes much more sense to me. But no, they tell us this idea of, you need to learn your soul lessons, you need to develop, evolve. And you know, like we've talked in other videos, the concept of evolution is as fake as it is here in the physical. We didn't evolve, we were genetically manipulated, most likely, to have that quantum leap. There's no way that you can go from that, what they claimed of you know, the monkey species, to something with much more processing power, with the ability to make free will decisions potentially, right? Even though it's more scripted than we know. So in terms of the time cycles, they do end up repeating over time, right? Over the movement of space. As we move through space, we move through time. They're all intertwined. And then as we move through time, we have, you know, we create this friction or this energy, and we are given this illusion of choice of whether to be good or to be evil, right? Or you can describe it more as to be sweet or sour. Now, whether you are sweet or sour, you're still likely going to be eaten. You're still likely to be eaten, because what happens when the harvest comes around, the demons eat, and then the angels eat. The angels say, or the angels have to potentially account to this demiurgic being in terms of what they've done with the earth population. How have they pushed them towards a more good, sweet energy, right? To something finer, something more loving, right? And then they take that and it sort of merges with them, right? Similar, very similar to eating. You take an apple and you eat it, it merges with you, it becomes part of you. You take it as a part of yourself, which, in my opinion, sounds insidious, but it could be interpreted much differently. You know, I don't know the whole system. I don't know the whole intention behind the whole system 100%. But from what I'm looking at it, it sounds cannibalistic. It sounds like everything is devouring each other. That's my limited perspective. You can interpret what I'm telling you in a different way. But at the end of these cycles, of these time cycles, comes a harvest, right? It comes back to that circular point, and that's when it says, oh, now we have to decide, how do we push humanity in different ways, right? In this garden of Eden, you're going to be eaten again. So that's likely why the huge emphasis on gold. If you remember, I did a video of lead to gold, and I was thinking about this the other day. Now, the bridge to Shambhala is said to be a rainbow bridge. The bridge to Asgard is said to be a rainbow bridge. The bridge to Saturn is also said to be a rainbow bridge. So that is likely where the gods reside, right? And it's a rainbow bridge. This just came to me. It's the rainbow bridge, likely because that is the light coming through the prism. So the pure light comes through the prism of Saturn, and then it comes out as a rainbow bridge being projected onto Earth, or through the moon and then onto Earth. I don't know, that just came to me. So you walk back through that rainbow bridge to Saturn, to the land of this demiurgic being, and that's where it all comes back. And now at the end of the rainbow is what? A pot of gold, right, with the leprechaun. The leprechaun is wearing green and a top hat. In the Wizard of Oz, there's also a yellow brick road, which is the gold. I believe there was a rainbow. No, it wasn't. I don't remember a rainbow. But the Wizard of Oz is also wearing a top hat, and he's wearing a green shirt underneath his black clothing, representing a leprechaun. The leprechauns usually represent demons or demonic-like beings, from what I've interpreted, even just looking at that leprechaun. Could it also represent the elves? The elves, again, report to Santa, right? Satan, or Sanat Kumara. So that's likely where the whole shebang goes down, right? In that realm. And they collect that pot of gold, right? The Anunnaki came here to mine for gold, physically and figuratively, right? So that gold is collected. We've made the humans into gods, but lesser gods, like us. Now we feed off that energy source of whatever it is, love or pain, suffering. And it goes both ways, right? Sweet and sour. You know, when you eat, you like to have salty and sugary. You like to have sweet fruit and sour vegetables, or, you know, not as sweet. So just looking at your own cycles, your own way of living can help you interpret how they're living as well. Because these ET beings, whatever this AI intelligence, is treating us the same way we as humans treat cattle or treat bugs, right? We see them as non-intelligent, very low in intelligence, and many of us do not have compassion for those beings. Now we still have to eat, but a lot of us take that compassion and throw it out the window, and we take the knife and we slit the throat, or we whatever, keep those animals in cages, create suffering for them. So in that regard, I can understand these archonic beings because they were created part of an archonic system to begin with. So they have to feed to maintain their existence. Some of them likely rebelled, right? Some of them likely turned more towards the Enki side, let's say, where they tried to help the humans. They tried to give them knowledge, but at the end of the day, they still need to feed, okay? And that's why we get this Enki and Enlil battle for creation and destruction, or maintenance and destruction of humanity. Whereas the Demiurge likely does not care. Yeah, let's have these two opposing factions. Maybe that was programmed to begin with, because it's the light versus dark paradigm, right? So yeah, in terms of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that's where that little leprechaun is, right? Waiting for you to accumulate more and more through our own deeds, our own actions that we carry forward in the stage of Earth. So, hope that makes sense. There might be some weird transitions going on with this videos because I had to catch my thoughts and piece them together. So, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.